Picture this, a sprawling mansion perched atop a hill, its golden glow spilling out into the night like a beacon of wealth and power. Crystal chandeliers dangle from the ceilings, casting rainbows across marble floors so polished you can see your own reflection staring back at you. This is the world of Vincent Carver, a tech billionaire whose name echoes through boardrooms and headlines alike. But tonight, we're not here for him. No. Our story begins with someone far humbler, Jasper, a 25-year-old driver with grease-stained hands and dreams bigger than the paycheck he earns shuttling the Carver family around. Jasper's the kind of guy who believes hard work pays off, who saves every penny for a future where he's not just a wheelman but the owner of his own garage. And then, there's Isabella, Vincent's 17-year-old daughter. She's a vision in silk and gold, with hair that catches the light like a summer sunset. But don't let that fool you. Beneath her beauty lies a storm, a girl raised in luxury, yet starved for the one thing money can't buy, her father's attention. It's a quiet evening, the kind where the air hums with possibility. Isabella glides down the mansion's spiral staircase, her heels clicking like a metronome against the stone. She's clutching an iPad, her father's latest command glowing on the screen. Tell Jasper to prep the car. I've got a gala tonight. She shrugs, humming a little tune, something catchy, carefree, as she heads toward the garage tucked behind the main house. Jasper's sanctuary. It's a small space, cluttered with tools and the faint smell of motor oil, a stark contrast to the opulence just steps away. Isabella doesn't knock. Why would she? This is her kingdom, and she walks where she pleases. She twists the doorknob, steps inside, and then, bam, the world tilts on its axis. Jasper's there, fresh out of the shower, a towel slung low around his waist, droplets of water still clinging to his shoulders. His dark hair's a mess, and his eyes widen in pure shock as they lock onto hers. Isabella freezes mid-step, her breath catching, one hand flying to her mouth as if to trap the gasp that escapes. For a heartbeat, they're statues, her in her designer dress, him in nothing but that flimsy towel. I didn't know you were here, Jasper stammers, his voice cracking as he bolts back toward the bathroom, snatching an old jacket off a hook to cover himself. He's flushed, fumbling, desperate to erase the moment. But when he turns back, Isabella hasn't moved. She's still there, staring, her eyes glinting with something dangerous, something hungry. The door swings shut behind her with a soft click, a sound that reverberates like a gunshot in the tiny room. She tilts her head, a slow smile curling her lips, not warm, not sweet, but sharp, like the edge of a blade. Jasper, she says, her voice low and smooth. I like you. It's not a confession. It's a command. Jasper takes a step back, clutching the jacket tighter. Miss Isabella, please, this isn't funny. I've got a girlfriend. You're too young. This isn't right. His words tumble out, frantic, pleading, but Isabella doesn't flinch. She steps closer, her shadow stretching across the concrete floor, her presence filling the space like a storm rolling in. If you don't do what I want, she whispers, her tone chillingly calm, I'll tell my dad you tried to hurt me. And just like that, the air thickens with tension, a spark igniting a fuse that's about to blow everything apart. What happens next? Oh, you're not going to believe it, but stick around, because this story's only getting started. If you're hooked already, smash that like button, hit share, and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single second of what's coming. Jasper's heart slams against his chest like a piston in overdrive. Isabella's words hang in the air, sharp and cold as a blade pressed to his throat. I'll tell my dad you tried to hurt me. He stares at her, wide-eyed, his mind racing to catch up with the nightmare unfolding in this cramped garage. You can't mean that, he stutters, his voice trembling as he clutches the jacket tighter, like it's some flimsy shield against her threat. I didn't do anything. Please, Miss Isabella, don't, but before he can finish, she smirks, a flicker of triumph in those icy blue eyes. She takes a step back, her delicate fingers curling around the hem of her silk dress. Then, with one swift, deliberate yank, she tears it, ripping the fabric along the shoulder, exposing a sliver of skin, and then she screams, Help! He's hurting me. Somebody. Help! Her voice pierces the stillness. High and frantic, echoing off the concrete walls. Jasper lunges forward, panic seizing him. "No. Stop. Don't do this," he shouts, reaching out to grab her arm, to stop the lie before it spirals out of control. But it's too late. Her screams grow louder, wilder, and within seconds, the garage door bursts open with a thunderous bang. There stands Vincent Carver, his broad frame filling the doorway, his face a mask of fury. His eyes dart from Isabella, hair disheveled, dress torn, tears streaming down her cheeks, to Jasper, still half-dressed, his hands outstretched in desperation. The silence that follows is suffocating, heavy with accusation. "What have you done to my daughter?" Vincent's voice rumbles like a storm breaking. Each word dripping with rage. Jasper drops to his knees, his hands raised in surrender. "Sir, I swear, it's not what it looks like. She's lying! I didn't touch her!" His pleas spill out, raw and ragged, but Isabella collapses into her father's arms, sobbing hysterically. "Daddy, he tried to force me. I said no." "But he wouldn't stop!" She buries her face in Vincent's chest, her cries muffled but piercing. Jasper shakes his head, tears welling in his eyes. "No. Sir, please, I'd never do that. She came in here. Enough!" Vincent roars, cutting him off. His fist clenches, trembling, as if he's seconds away from striking Jasper himself. "You ungrateful wretch. I trusted you." The next few minutes blur into chaos. Vincent dials the police, his voice shaking with anger as he barks orders into the phone. Isabella clings to him, her sobs growing quieter, more theatrical. A performance Jasper can see through, but no one else seems to. Sirens wail in the distance, growing louder until they're right outside the mansion's gates. Officers storm in, their boots pounding the marble floors, and Jasper's wrists are yanked behind his back, cold metal cuffs snapping shut. "I'm innocent!" he cries as they drag him toward the door, his voice breaking. "Please. You have to believe me." But the officers don't even glance at him. To them, he's already guilty, a low-life driver who dared to cross a line with a billionaire's daughter. Word spreads like wildfire. By morning, headlines scream across every screen. Carver family driver accused of assaulting billionaire's daughter. Reporters swarm the mansion, their cameras flashing like lightning, capturing Vincent's grim face as he steps out to address them. "This is a betrayal of trust," he says, his voice steady but hollow. "Justice will be served." Inside, Isabella sits curled on a velvet sofa, sipping tea, her tears long dried. Jasper, meanwhile, is shoved into a holding cell, the clang of the bars slamming shut ringing in his ears. He sinks to the floor, head in his hands, the weight of the lie crushing him. Days later, the police station becomes a battlefield of emotions. Sophie, Jasper's girlfriend of 2 years, storms in, her face red with fury. She's clutching the engagement ring he gave her 6 months ago, the one he'd saved up for with every extra shift. "Tell me it's not true," she demands, her voice shaking as she stands outside his cell. Jasper looks up, his eyes pleading. "Sophie, I swear I didn't do it. She made it all up." But the doubt in her gaze cuts deeper than any knife. "They're saying you attacked her." "Jasper, her dress was torn. How am I supposed to believe you over that?" He reaches through the bars, desperate. "Because you know me." "I'd never—" She steps back, tears spilling over. "I don't know what to believe anymore." With a sob, she hurls the ring at the floor, the tiny diamond skittering across the concrete. "We're done," she whispers, turning away as Jasper's world crumbles further. The trial comes fast, too fast. Vincent's wealth greases the wheels, and the courtroom is packed with reporters, onlookers, and Jasper's family, their faces etched with worry. The evidence is flimsy. Isabella's testimony, the torn dress, a few vague witness statements from staff who heard her scream. Jasper's lawyer fights hard, but the jury's eyes are cold, their minds made up. "Jasper Reed," the judge intones, his voice heavy as he reads the verdict. "This court finds you guilty of attempted assault. You are hereby sentenced to 15 years in prison." A gasp ripples through the room. Jasper collapses into his chair, sobs tearing from his throat. "I'm innocent," he shouts, his voice echoing off the walls. "Please, I didn't do it!" His mother wails from the front row, reaching for him. But the bailiffs pull him away, his cries fading as he's dragged out. Back at the mansion, Vincent sits alone in his study, a glass of whiskey trembling in his hand. Something gnaws at him, a flicker of doubt. He'd seen the way Isabella avoided his questions, the way her story shifted just enough to raise an eyebrow. Late that night, he pulls up the mansion's secret security footage, a system he'd installed years ago for protection. His breath catches as he watches. Isabella stepping into the garage, Jasper backing away, her tearing her own dress. The truth stares him in the face, undeniable. But instead of relief, panic sets in. If this gets out, the scandal will ruin them, his empire, his legacy, his daughter's future. He deletes the file, his jaw tight, and mutters to himself, "It's too late now. The world's already decided." Jasper's life unravels behind bars, abandoned by nearly everyone he loves. Vincent buries the truth under layers of wealth and lies. And Isabella? She moves on, her smile as bright as ever, untouchable beneath the chandelier's glow. But this isn't the end, not even close. Because out there, someone still believes in Jasper, and that someone's about to turn this whole twisted tale upside down. 3 years, 3 long, suffocating years behind bars, where the days bleed into nights and hope feels like a distant memory. Jasper sits on the edge of his bunk, staring at the cracks in the concrete wall, his once bright eyes dulled by despair. The world outside has moved on. Headlines faded. Friends vanished. Sophie's absence a wound that never heals. But not everyone has forgotten him. Out there, beyond the iron bars, a spark flickers in the dark, carried by someone who refuses to let the lie win. Her name is Mia, Sophie's best friend, a quiet soul with a fire in her heart. She'd stood in the courtroom that day, watching Jasper collapse under the verdict, and something inside her snapped. "He's innocent," she'd whispered to herself then, and she's been whispering it ever since. A vow she's determined to keep. Mia's no detective, no lawyer, just a barista with a knack for listening and a stubborn streak a mile wide. For 3 years, she's scraped by, saving every tip, every spare dollar, waiting for a chance to right this wrong. That chance comes on a rainy afternoon when she's scrolling job listings on her cracked phone screen. There it is, buried between ads for dog walkers and delivery drivers. Housekeeper wanted, Carver estate. Her pulse quickens. The mansion, the place where it all began. She applies without a second thought, her fingers trembling as she types her name. A week later, the call comes. "Miss Mia, you're hired. Start Monday." She hangs up, her breath shaky, a mix of fear and resolve churning in her gut. This is it, her shot to get Jasper out. Monday arrives, and Mia steps through the towering gates of the Carver mansion, a mop and bucket in hand. The place is as grand as ever, chandeliers glittering, air thick with the scent of polished wood and wealth. But it's not the luxury that catches her eye. It's Isabella. Now 20, she's grown into her arrogance, strutting through the halls in designer heels, barking orders like a queen. "Wipe that smudge off the mirror." "Maid." She snaps at Mia on her first day, her voice dripping with disdain. Mia bites her tongue, nods, and scrubs, but her mind's elsewhere. She's not here to clean. She's here to dig, to find the truth Vincent buried 3 years ago. Weeks pass in a blur of dusting and dodging Isabella's tantrums. Mia keeps her head down, ears open, waiting for a crack in the armor. It comes one evening while she's sweeping the upstairs hall. Vincent's voice drifts through his study door, gruff and distracted. "Make sure the security system's updated. Those cameras catch everything." Mia freezes, broom still in hand. Cameras. Secret cameras. Her heart thumps against her ribs. If there's footage from that night in the garage, it could prove Jasper's innocence. But the study's off limits, locked tight. A fortress within a fortress. She'll need a miracle to get in. That miracle arrives on Isabella's 21st birthday. The mansion transforms into a circus of excess, music thumping, champagne flowing, guests in glittering gowns spilling across the lawns. Vincent and Isabella play their parts, laughing and toasting, their faces flushed with booze. Mia declines a glass from a waiter, her mind razor-sharp. As the night wears on, the party slows, guests stumble home, and Vincent slumps onto a couch, snoring, a half-empty bottle at his side. Isabella's not far behind. giggling incoherently as she flops beside him. Mia seizes the moment. Slipping upstairs, she clutches a stolen key she'd swiped from a drawer weeks ago, a spare to Vincent's study. Her hands shake as she turns the lock, the door creaking open to reveal a dimly lit room, the computer humming on the desk. She boots it up, her breath shallow. Fingers flying across the keys. Files flash by, business deals, tax records, until she finds a folder marked Archive. Inside, a video time-stamped 3 years ago, labeled Garage Cam. She clicks play, and there it is, Isabella stepping into the garage. Jasper backing away, pleading, "Miss Isabella." "This isn't right," he says on screen. His voice tinny but clear, then the dress tears. Her scream ringing out, all staged by her own hand. Mia's eyes burn with tears and triumph. This is it, the proof. She pulls a USB from her pocket, starts the transfer, her pulse racing as the progress bar creeps forward. Footsteps. Heavy, uneven. Mia's head snaps up as the door swings open. Vincent staggers in, bleary-eyed, his suit rumpled from the party. "What the?" he slurs, blinking at her. Mia dives under the desk, heart hammering, clutching the USB as it finishes copying. Vincent doesn't see her. He collapses onto a chair, muttering about the gala, then slumps forward, out cold. She crawls out, every nerve on fire, and slips from the room, the key and USB pressed tight against her chest. Back in her tiny apartment, she replays the video, her hands trembling. "I've got you. Jasper," she whispers, a smile breaking through her fear. But she's not naive. The Carvers won't go down without a fight. Before dawn, Mia emails the footage to a lawyer she'd contacted months ago, a scrappy guy who hates rich liars as much as she does. She adds a note. "Call the cops. Now." By noon, her phone buzzes with a text. "Police on their way to Carvers. Stay safe." Mia exhales, shaky but steady. She's lit the match. Now it's time to watch it burn. Jasper's still in the dark, locked away, unaware that freedom's closer than it's ever been. Mia's risked everything, her job, her safety, maybe her life, to pull him out of this abyss. The mansion's walls hold secrets, but they're crumbling, and the light of truth is seeping through the cracks. What happens when it all comes crashing down? You'll see soon enough. The sun's barely up when the Carver mansion erupts into chaos. Sirens scream through the morning haze, red and blue lights bouncing off the pristine gates. Mia's plan has ignited. Her email to the lawyer sparked a wildfire, and now the police swarm the estate like hounds on a scent. Inside, Vincent stumbles out of bed, his head pounding from last night's excess, his bleary eyes narrowing as officers pound on the front door. "Open up! This is the police!" a voice booms. Isabella, still in her silk pajamas, races downstairs, her face pale. "Daddy? What's happening?" she shrieks. But Vincent's too stunned to answer. The door splinters under a battering ram, and uniformed figures flood the foyer, their shouts drowning out the echo of chandeliers swaying above. Mia watches from a distance, parked in her beat-up hatchback down the hill, her knuckles white around the steering wheel. She'd slipped out before dawn, the USB tucked in her pocket. Her heart a drumbeat of hope and dread. The lawyer had called her an hour ago. "They've got the video. Carver's done. Now," as officers cuff Vincent, his protests. "This is outrageous. Do you know who I am?" Fall flat. Isabella tries to bolt, but a female officer grabs her arm, snapping cuffs on her wrists. "You're under arrest for perjury and conspiracy," the officer snaps. Isabella's scream cuts through the air, shrill and desperate. "I didn't do anything. Let me go!" But the evidence Mia unearthed, the garage footage, has already sealed their fate. At the precinct, the video plays on a grainy screen, every frame a dagger to the Carver's lies. Jasper's voice, shaky but firm, rings out, "Miss Isabella? This isn't right." Then Isabella's smirk, the rip of her dress, the staged scream, it's all there. Undeniable. Vincent's face drains of color, his empire crumbling with each second. He deleted his copy, but Mia's USB holds the original, pulled from a backup server he'd overlooked. The officers exchange glances, their disgust palpable. "You covered this up," one mutters to Vincent. "You let an innocent man rot." Vincent slumps, silent, his wealth useless against the truth. Word reaches the prison by noon. Jasper's hunched over a tray of grey slop when a guard bangs on the bars. "Read. Pack your stuff." "You're out!" He blinks, disbelief washing over him. "What?" The guard tosses him a crumpled newspaper. Carver driver cleared. Billionaire's daughter exposed. Jasper's hands tremble as he reads. Tears blurring the ink. Mia's name's there. A quiet hero in bold print. He's free. After 3 years of hell. He's free. The gates clang open, and he stumbles into the sunlight. Frail but unbroken, Mia's waiting. Her eyes shining as she runs to him. "You did it," he chokes out, pulling her into a hug. "You saved me." She laughs through tears. Someone had to. The courtroom's packed weeks later. A circus of cameras and whispers. Vincent and Isabella sit stone-faced as the judge lays down the hammer. Vincent Carver, for obstruction of justice. You're sentenced to 10 years. Isabella Carver, for perjury and false accusation. 15 years. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Isabella sobs. Real tears this time, but no one's buying it. Vincent's ordered to pay Jasper $3 million in damages. Blood money for the life they stole. Jasper's mother weeps in the front row, clutching his hand, while Mia sits beside him, her quiet strength a lifeline. Life shifts fast. With the payout, Jasper buys a rundown garage on the edge of town, his dream finally taking shape. He spends days sanding floors, painting walls, the smell of fresh paint a balm to his scars. One evening, as he's locking up, a shadow falls across the lot. It's Sophie, her hair pulled back, a nervous smile on her lips. "Jasper," she starts, holding out a velvet box. "I was wrong. I should have believed you." She opens it, a new ring, sparkling in the dusk. "Let's start over." He stares at her, the girl who'd tossed his love away when he needed it most. Memories flood back, her turning her back, the ring skittering across the cell floor. "Sophie," he says, his voice steady, "you left me in the dark. I begged you to stay, and you walked away." She flinches, tears welling. "I'm sorry. I'll make it right." He cuts her off. "Someone already did." He turns, calling into the garage, "Mia, you out here?" She steps from the shadows, a rag in her hands, grease smudged on her cheek from helping with an engine. On her finger glints a ring, the one Sophie threw away, resized and reclaimed. Sophie's jaw drops, her face crumpling. "You and her?" she whispers. Jasper steps beside Mia, his arm around her. "She believed in me when no one else did. You don't get to come back now that I'm whole again." Sophie's sobs break the silence as she stumbles away, the box falling to the gravel. Abandoned. Months later, the garage hums with life, cars rolling in, tools clanging, laughter echoing. Jasper and Mia work side by side, partners in every sense. The mansion on the hill sits quiet now, its chandeliers dim, its owners locked away. Justice came slow, but it came fierce, tearing down the lies and lifting Jasper from the ashes. He looks at Mia one night, her smile lit by the shop's neon sign, and knows he's home. Not just in this place, but with her. "We made it," he says softly. She squeezes his hand. "Yeah. We did." So there you have it, a tale of betrayal, fight, and redemption, all under the glow of those chandeliers. What do you think? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if justice tastes as sweet to you as it does to me, and subscribe, because stories like this, they're just the beginning. And there you have it. Folks, the curtains close on a wild ride where shadows turned to light and justice finally found its way. Jasper's free. The Carvers are behind bars. And Mia? She's proof that sometimes the quiet ones roar the loudest. It's funny, isn't it? How truth can hide under glitzy chandeliers and whispered lies, waiting for someone brave enough to yank it into the open. Justice might crawl at a snail's pace, dragging its feet through mud and muck. But it always finds a path eventually. And when it hits, oh man, it hits hard, doesn't it? Like a punch you didn't see coming but totally deserved. So, what do you think about this story? Did it get your heart racing when Mia slipped into that study? Did you cheer when Jasper walked out of those prison gates? Or maybe you're still reeling from Sophie getting the boot. Talk about a twist. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. and I'd love to know what hit you the hardest. If this tale of betrayal, grit, and redemption lit a spark for you, smash that like button, share it with your crew, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next epic story. We've got plenty more where this came from. Tales that'll keep you glued to your screen. I promise. Until next time, keep chasing your own light. And I'll see you in the comments.